I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
What do you mean, calm it down? It's a fight. Referees telling two fighters who want to fight to calm it down. He should calm down.
So he's like a clown in his show, man. He's not your guy.
Because Tyson Fury's back, and all you motherfuckers are under attack. Look, Eddie Hearn can say all what he likes. Who gives a shit what Eddie Hearn says? It's garbage.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Can you let me retire and be happy? Please, just please.
Bombs away from the Bronx Bomber! Wanda! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit. You're not shit.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
I got dropped, man! Are you kidding me? No, you won the fight.
OMG, I am so excited.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of the show live on YouTube. I'm Matt, the Hipster Hunter. Going to be talking all things boxing, covering some of the stuff I did yesterday, and obviously more of that in depth with the full panel, most of the panel today. No Fugatti, MIA Fu. We love you. But I quickly want to apologize to my co-host, Rob, who's very upset in the chat right now. I think people are maybe confused why he's upset. Rob made a new intro today, and I forgot to put it on the soundboard, so my bad. He worked really hard on it. So the next show we do, there's a new intro that Rob made that's going to be amazing. But I forgot it today. My bad. But anyways, guys, like I said, I'm, of course, joined with most of the panel of MCR here. But first, let's go over to the UK. Mr. Robbie Hearn's second cousin, twice removed of Sir Eddie. Rob, how are you?
Just go to Gary. I don't want to talk about it.
I'm sorry.
No, hey everyone. Yeah, there was a new intro. It's good, you know.
It's good.
And I'm in the chat going, oh, wait for this new intro. Then Matt realizes you can't see him, but he's like, hand over his face, like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Clown. But anyway, good weekend of boxing. I enjoyed it. We obviously had a UK show, but obviously we had the unification on Friday. I haven't been on to be able to tell you I was the only one of the panel to pick Beterbiev.
Air horns for you. It's a long time coming. You haven't been really able to toot your horn in a while. Here you go.
Yeah, I'm actually picking properly now. Plus, there was no UK guy involved. How am I going to get it wrong? You know, when there's no UK guy involved, I'm good. But yeah. So yeah, hit that thumbs up, share the show, all that usual stuff. Notifications bell for next time. You don't want to miss that intro. Trust me, it's awesome. It's awesome. A little long, but you know, it gives us time to get things all lined up while you guys are just in awe of the.
And plus, the reason why we have a long intro is because most of the time you guys are just getting the notification that we're live.
Yeah.
So it gives you that minute or so to get ready for the show when maybe you didn't realize we had a show going live. And you only get that notification when stuff is live, not maybe that 30-minute pre-warning that some people sometimes get. Shout out to the YouTube notification system. But digressing, going over to Gary in Dallas, like myself, also picking wrong this weekend for the marquee fight. Gary, how are you, man?
I'm good, but that's why we let Rob talk first, so that in case people are a little late, they don't miss anything important.
Yes, that's true.
It was a really sneaky good weekend of boxing. You know, it wasn't one of those weekends where there's a ton of mega fights, but it was really good action. And though I got the main event wrong, I did tell everyone from day one, before the playoffs started, the World Series would be the Nationals and the Astros.
Why are we still talking fucking baseball? Before the show, during the show? I'm dropping off.
You know what? I got them in this context. For the, excuse me, for the 60% of our listeners, or 50% of our listeners that are from the U.S., half of them probably watch other sports. So, hey, Gary is them. He's speaking for them right now. But no one gives a shit about baseball.
I watch other sports. I just, on a boxing podcast, tend to not bring them up. But anyway. Yeah, it's all good, Gary. I know you're a big sports fan. It's good.
And to be fair, Rob, you have brought up other sports.
Only in context.
I'm still waiting for that. What was it? That breakdown of that big super match that happened in. I keep want to say Quidditch, but that's not true. That's a fictional UK sport.
Yeah.
But not rugby either. What the fuck am I trying to think of?
Cricket.
Cricket. Yes, thank you.
I think we've missed the boat on that, Matt.
Yeah, but I still wanted that video. Anyways, digressing, guys. It's gonna be one of those shows. We're all in a silly mood. You should have seen the green room before the show. But let's talk about the fight that is the marquee fight of the weekend. Was Artur Beterbiev defeating Alexander Gvozdyk in absolutely fantastic fashion, competitive fashion throughout, fun fight. Probably not going to be a fight of the year contender, but 100% going to be a fight that we probably talk about at the end of the year as one of the better fights that we saw. One of the better matchups on paper that then delivered as we expected. But Rob, before me and Gary give our takes on the fight, you were the only one to technically pick the right winner here in Artur Beterbiev. So obviously, give me your thoughts on his performance, which is probably a breakout performance, arguably.
Yeah, no, I just felt that Beterbiev, his pressure would possibly just end up tallying at some point, And I think I mentioned it. He's been knocked down a few times, but he gets up and just keeps coming. And I just felt maybe I wasn't quite as high on his Gvozdyk's boxing abilities as maybe you guys were a little bit. And I felt the pressure would tell. And I think I did say, because you were like, what a decision? And I thought about it and went, no, probably a late TKO. So I should have backed it with the bookies, but never mind. But yeah, no, shout out to Beterbiev. I thought, I mean, it was competitive up until the stoppage. I felt Gvozdyk was like still in the fight. It wasn't like it was gone or anything, or that Beterbiev needed to really swing for the fences because he was so down on the cards. I thought it was competitive throughout, and eventually it told. And I don't want to hear people saying Gvozdyk quit. I've been seeing people saying he quit. Didn't Max Kellerman say he quit as well and stuff like that? Took a knee or whatever. Oh, come on. He was
getting beat up.
The kind of time we've had in boxing just recently, I don't think anyone needs to hear a so-called expert or people that whatever saying that someone's a quitter in the ring like that. I think that was a poor,
especially after 9 or 10 rounds of hard boxing and fighting. It just
so yeah. For me, didn't quit. I just think Beterbiev has showed that his power's real, his pressure's real, and he's a problem for everybody in the division.
And to that point, very quickly, because it's not a real topic, but to the point of him quitting, and that's just bullshit. He was in the hospital for a couple of days after the fight. Like, let's stop that narrative. Honestly, that he quit. Yeah. Like the only real person you can say quit a boxing fight was what's his name against Agabi, who just stepped out of the ring before the fight even started. Like that is a textbook definition of he quit.
And that was more a protest than quitting. Yeah. That was like to do with money, right?
Yeah, but if you're getting there getting hit with punches and you're just like, look, I don't want to get hit with these punches anymore. There's no shame in that. Live to fight another day. Don't get more brain damage for no reason.
I got one. Bruce Seldon versus Mike Tyson. He never really got hit by a punch.
He got in the ring.
You guys remember that fight? He went in the ring and then immediately took a phantom leap on the ground because that dude in the black trunks looks a little scary.
Yeah. The draft off that first shot. Fuck that. That draft hurt. I'm going down.
And I just quickly, just to sort of speed up, I will disagree with your point about Gvozdyk's boxing ability not being what we thought it was. I think his boxing ability was absolutely what we thought it was. It showed in the fight. The one thing that clearly wasn't there was the power. The power to really get Beterbiev's respect was not there. And I think that was the key factor because he was outboxing, I would say, Artur Beterbiev largely so. Obviously, I talked about it on yesterday's show about his Beterbiev's boxing ability far better than what we thought, but I do think that Gvozdyk outboxed him. He just didn't have the power to hurt him and to really get that respect.
Yeah, like if there's a come forward pressure fighter, if you've got some power to make them just think twice,
hesitate, just that
like
slight hesitation.
Canelo going forwards to Triple G in the second fight. When did we see that? And then Triple G backing up and trying to box on the back foot. So when you can get respect the other way, then that can slightly nullify the big pressure for come forward guy that's trying to land bombs and hurt you. So yeah, I think Gvozdyk, maybe you're right. Maybe it isn't necessarily his boxing ability wasn't there, or it wasn't as high as you guys maybe said, but it was more he couldn't get Beterbiev's respect so much. So, and I just felt watching the fight, it's a matter of, as the more it went on, it's a matter of time before Beterbiev lands something really telling. But it was a great fight, like you say. Maybe not, full excited like crazy fight of the year, but should be in the mentions for sure.
Definitely probably gonna be in that top 15ish range.
Yeah, it would be like honorable mentions at the end of the year, sort of MCR show probably, or something like that.
Absolutely. Gary, your thoughts on the X's and O's of the performance of Beterbiev and Gvozdyk? Gary froze up.
First, let's give Rob credit. He went out on a limb.
That's true. Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes. We hear you now. We hear you. Gary, we hear you.
So kudos to Rob. Yeah, I didn't change my mind at all. I still think Gvozdyk is an excellent boxer. The only thing that changed my mind was how good Beterbiev is. Like, I thought he was one-dimensional. I thought he was too flat-footed. I think Gvozdyk's power is proven, right? Like, he knocked out Baker. He knocked out Stevenson. He knocked out Chilemba. He's knocked everybody out. Well, I guess Chilemba retired on his stool, right? But the other guys he's knocked out and knocked him out cold. So his power is legitimate. I just think that maybe Beterbiev's got a Triple G chin where it's like bulletproof. Nothing's changed my mind on Gvozdyk. I still think Gvozdyk is an excellent boxer. I still think he's the second best guy in the division.
We're gonna get to that. Don't worry, we're gonna get to that.
I'm ready.
It's like the Ramirez Hooker fight. Like, my opinion on Hooker didn't change, but just my opinion on Ramirez changed, and my opinion on Beterbiev changed. I think he's a lot better than at least I previously thought he was.
I do like that framing of, like, not to, when you see these two champions in whatever case fight and one loses, and then let's say the winner shows new wrinkles to the game. That's more obviously to the side of, wow, we now should have a different opinion of the person winning. The person that lost, maybe the opinion shouldn't change. Maybe we just undervalued and underrated the person that ended up winning. For example, Ramirez Hooker, in this case, Beterbiev Gvozdyk. I think that's a really good comparison and a good way of looking at it. But obviously, I think the talk now going forward is that what's next, right? We're going to get a Bivol Beterbiev unification, right, at some point in next year. Let me get to the exact. Bob Arum was talking to the media. We're getting this from Michael Benson, but I saw several interviews of him talking about this, plus Boxing Scene article, etc. Bob Arum has told media that he plans to take Eddie Hearn up on his offer and make Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol on ESPN. First, Beterbiev must face IBF mandatory China's Meng Fanlong. They have an offer to do it in Henan, Chinese island, around Chinese New Year. So, guys, thoughts on the upcoming unification. Sorry, there's so Kovalev spelled out there. Soon to be Canelo's possibly. But thoughts on the upcoming unification that most likely is happening summertime of 2020. Bivol Beterbiev. Rob, your thoughts?
I mean, I stand by my Bivol thing, but now I would say.
Well, for those that maybe don't know what that is.
Oh no, me and Gary were of the opinion that Bivol is the best light heavyweight in the division, but mine was more. I think he can beat anyone in the division. Not
he will.
Like he's 100%. Odds-on favorite against everyone he steps in the ring with. So I feel he can win it, but I think seeing Beterbiev do that with Gvozdyk, I feel Bivol's chances have just declined a bit.
It's closer. It's a much closer fight than the Bivol fans or
I
truthers.
mean, I would see this. This might sound strange, but with his power and everything like that, and coming through that fight and unifying, I'm sure Beterbiev would go favourite in that fight. I would say so. That Bivol would maybe be the underdog, which I'm not sure. Yeah, it'd be close. I think it'd be tight. I think it'd be tight betting lines.
You would see like minus 150 and like plus like 180 odds.
Around that, something like that, or someone might even be close to even money or whatever.
Not an outright 2-1, but close to a 2-1 odds.
Yeah. But I want to see the fight. I mean, skip me with the mandatory if possible, but obviously they come for a reason and they happen and whatever. But and Bivol over on ESPN for the unification with Beterbiev. That's no surprise. Bivol, we know now, is a network free agent. I know he's co-promoted by Eddie, but he's a network free agent. So anything to make that fight easier to make, and then great. We get another unification. And for a while, I feel now these guys are fighting each other. This is a really good division. I know, again, top heavy. But yeah, now they're fighting each other. Sign me up. I'm all in. I want to see these fights. So I'd be interested in your thoughts, like Gvozdyk, Beterbiev, if there was if they fought each other 10 times.
I think Gvozdyk will win a couple. I do think he was outboxing Beterbiev for large portions of the fight. But Beterbiev, I mean, he beat him in the amateurs, beat him in the pros. Like maybe there's just a clear he has his number situation here, which it happens. Gary, and I'll get back to you, Rob, because you really didn't make a preliminary pick on the fight. You kind of sat on the fence there, a la Fugatti. I'm not going to hold you to this pick, gentlemen, because obviously the fight's maybe going to happen in 9 months, a year. But Gary, preliminary thoughts and pick of a Beterbiev-Bivol unification on ESPN.
Yeah, I sat here last week and said that I thought Bivol was the best 175-pounder. Yes. I still think that his skills may say that he's the best, but there's no way that he can stop the onslaught of Beterbiev. He's too small and he doesn't have the power. So I'm going to change my mind on that. If Gvozdyk didn't have the power to keep Beterbiev off of him, there's no way that Bivol does. So, Bivol may have some success. He may win rounds, but you're going to see him getting broken down over time. And I don't see how Beterbiev doesn't stop him. But unless Bivol really went on his bicycle and just tried to run out the clock, which I don't see him doing, I don't see how he lasts all 12 rounds. He's too small and he doesn't have the power to keep him off. So as skilled as I think Bivol is, and I think me and Rob agree on his skills, A, he's fighting in the wrong weight class, and B, he doesn't have the power to keep him off. So I would go with Beterbiev by late knockout.
Can we get a consensus on how we're saying?
No. Nope.
I just can't see a Russian guy being called Beterbiev.
It's better. Beterbiev just
is very Russian sounding.
It is. Artur Beterbiev.
Beterbiev.
I'm trying to think of another fighter who's like this, that like we all started calling him this name, so like it just stuck, even though it's wrong. Like it's a wrong pronunciation. That happens actually quite frequently. It's unfortunate, but
name redacted calls Errol Spence Earl to this day.
I mean that's okay. I think like that. I've seen worse.
It's not his name, but
exactly. Right. Ottawa Varlin.
Otto Whalen.
Also turned into Ottawa Jones III as well, by the way. Just saying.
People calling Otha Jones Otto now? Is that
Ottawa? Ottawa, as in
like the province of Canada.
Yes. Along with Varlin as well. His name is Ottawa as well.
And look, if anyone's listening to the show right now that's new, I'm sorry if we butcher pronunciations of names. Sorry.
No, no one triggered me to say it. I'm just, for me, hearing Beterbiev.
Beterbiev. I'll try better now. I'm sorry. Beterbiev. Yeah.
No, I'm not, right? Because I said Beterbiev. Everyone on HBO said Beterbiev. Like, you should have fixed it then, right? Like, I'm sticking. I can't change now. Like, I'm a creature of habit. Like,
it's like the whole Gennady with an I thing now. I fucking hate
Yeah.
that. And like Vasily, like that used to really bug me. How like it's now changed to double I, right? But that honestly doesn't bug me anymore because I just put them both in the tags now. But Gennady really bugs me because it's legit only like a few people that use that, and it's like big time reporters, and no one else uses that spelling anymore still, or at all, with the Gennady with an I. Anyways, digressing from this long tangent.
I was going to say, speaking of the telecast, did you see on about Vasily? He's apparently not lost.
Wait,
The graphic came up 14-0. Lomachenko's 14-0.
oh yeah.
That's
I mean,
the
that's
fight
not-
didn't happen.
That's not a mistake. That's propaganda by ESPN.
Yeah. And a lot of people getting their panties in a bunch about Tank not being on the current champions pound for pound knockout percentage. Newsflash, Gervonta Davis isn't currently a champion, so that's why he wasn't on the list. Relax.
He vacated that belt? Yeah, he did. He has already. Yeah.
Because Leo's fighting for it now.
Leo's going to fight for it, and then I don't know if we're going to get to it, but Tank's up for fighting Leo.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. Don't worry.
Right.
We have a lot to get to, but oh my god, it's gonna be one of those
I'm
shows.
thinking about that one now, just so I can try.
But quickly, I want to sort of bring it back just a little bit to these intermediate fights between the Beterbiev Bivol unification, Fanlong Mang or Mang Fanlong, however, whichever way you switch it, because Chinese names switch often. Zhushan, Kanju, for example. Beterbiev fighting Mang, who I think is a really underrated sort of prospect contender in the light heavyweight division. And Bivol has now come out, and I know the UK fans or listeners of this show might like this fight or might think that he's chewing off more than he can chew. But Dimitri Bivol says he has no issue facing Joshua Buatsi in the UK. And I gotta say, Rob, if we get a world where the in-between fights are Fanlong Mang and Joshua Buatsi, and then we get a unification for the winners of those two fights, I'm extremely happy. So, overall thoughts on Bivol. Oh, did not mean to hit that.
Oh my god!
Sorry. My thoughts on Bivol Buatsi possibility, and on top of that, even the Beterbiev Fanlong Mang fight in China, a market that we know Bob Arum has been trying to break into for a very, very long time.
Yeah, look, Buatsi's built himself into a position with the WBA, but I can't help thinking it might just be a shade too soon. Maybe one more fight, maybe even two before Buatsi gets in with the Bivol.
Now, you're talking about from a pure competitive standpoint, and I agree with you. Now, from a real world situation, do you think this fight actually happened regardless of maybe him actually needing that in between fight?
I don't know that it happens. I don't think Eddie's going to put Buatsi in with Bivol just yet.
Sure.
I don't think, personally. And quite rightly too, in my opinion.
No, like I said, I even though we have the Yard situation where he actually put on a great performance against Kovalev and his stock rose and lost.
Yeah, for a round.
No, he fought very well for the rest of the fight, I would say. But digress from that, that's not a normal thing. Untested prospect fighting an elite champion and then rising to the occasion is not the norm. Usually they take an L and they bounce back and they rebound, they rebuild their career, and they come back into the elite fold. But Gary, your thoughts on a Bivol Buatsi fight, the possibility of it, just your overall thoughts on it, and obviously Beterbiev Mang in China as well.
Those aren't the worst mandatories in the world. You get through those, and then we get the fight we want. Like Bivol Buatsi.
For Buatsi's not mandatory. Just want to make that clear.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Okay. I'll still take the fight, right? Yes. Like, I mean, he's not going to... Buatsi is a good... I guess you would still call him a prospect at this point in his career. I mean, he hasn't done a whole lot to deserve a title shot, but, I mean, neither did Yard, right? And then Yard fought valiantly and, impressed us. So maybe Buatsi does the same thing.
What, Rob?
Fought valiantly is like saying like the fat girl's got a really nice personality.
I don't know about that. Sean Porter put on a great performance against Earl Spence in his stock Rose.
Yeah, but I'd say that was more than valiant. He actually, some people even had Porter winning it.
Yeah, but those are few and far between.
Or maybe
it's not that few, Matt. Right? Like it's a minority, but it's not a small minority. Watching it live, I scored at 14-13 Porter. Watching it again, I scored at.
Okay, we're not gonna get lost in those weeds.
Even a draw.
I honestly do not care. Moving on to the rest of the card, though. Briefly as possible, Luis Collazo losing against Kuzatilo Apokadorov in a fun fight. Thoughts on this performance from both guys here? Rob, Gary, whoever wants to take it first.
Rob,
did you not see it?
I didn't.
I know there's no UK telecast for this one. I know that.
I didn't think much of Curtis Gio. I'm not even gonna try to say his last name. I mean, there wasn't much there. I just think that
Collazo,
he's a decent fighter. I just think Collazo's best days are behind him. I thought that in the Vargas fight too, but people overlooked that fight because it was a fun scrap where Collazo, beat him up. But he ate a lot of shots too, and you can see the speed wasn't the same, the endurance wasn't the same. He's 38 now. And he can still get paydays if he wants to do that. Like we talked, Hooker needs an opponent. Virgil Ortiz needs an opponent. Okay, there's a former champion, a legitimate guy who was top 10 forever at 147.
Josh Kelly, guys of
Josh
that nature.
Kelly.
Terrence Crawford.
No, stop.
No.
Why? He needs an opponent.
Yeah, let's not do that. But he can.
I got sad.
I'm sorry, but name another one.
He lost. He's not gonna look. And honestly, this was an IBF eliminator. Like Apokadorov could go off and fight Earl Spence and lose.
He's better than Ocampo. All right, we can get a better.
And they
fight.
He is. He's better than. Oh, absolutely no. 100%. That goes without saying. We don't need to go down that.
Marked improvement on IBF mandatories.
Absolutely. However, he's not competitive.
Same result.
Yeah, same result. He's not competitive against Earl Spence. But they mentioned they would take that mandatory, I think, summertime of 2020, right after the Danny fight.
What would have been the Danny fight, yeah.
Obviously, with the timetable of Earl Spence being pushed back at least a couple months, assumingly, God knows when Apokadorov could get that shot. Maybe they do sort of just have him fight Terrence Crawford, I guess. I don't know. Collazo lost. Like, he is in no running to fight Terrence Crawford.
No, it's just being.
I know you're being funny, but I'm now legitimately thinking who is there to fight Crawford? Honestly, because this was in a weird way, an IBF eliminator, but really it was a Terrence Crawford eliminator for Luis Collazo, and he lost. So, what does Top Rank do now since Terrence Crawford post his mandatory Kavalauskas in December has no one to fight? Gary, Rob, anyone thoughts on that?
Oh, it's going to be Curtilo. I mean, unless Kell Brook or something, but that's what it is. I mean, there's no one else for him to fight.
I'm mad.
And I mean, Spence or whatever will pay him to step aside, and then he'll get paid to fight Crawford. So it's a win-win.
Why don't Al, this savior that I've heard about called Al, why doesn't he let Crawford get his mandatory out of the way and come in and buy him out his contracts and something? And then
I would love that. Hey,
all in-house on PBC, and everyone on PBC is making the money.
Rob, if you want to start pushing a Al Heyman buying out Terrence Crawford narrative, I am 100% in favor of that narrative. Because
done it with other fighters, right? Why not take out take what is considered by some as the number one pound for pound guy, even though he isn't. But...
Now the thing is, I don't know what his deal would be, because his deal. I mean, obviously, people are going to make comparisons to Floyd Mayweather buying out his contract, which I think was for $750,000, right?
Yeah.
But Crawford's making multi-million-dollar disclosed purses per fight on ESPN. To me, it had to be more than what the the Floyd Mayweather deal was with Bob Arum back in the day, even though that's crazy to say, but it just respectively, due to inflation, due to the time, the market, it is more. What if that deal was a 10, 15, 20 million upfront sum, and maybe PBC's thinking, do we spend 20 million on getting Terrence Crawford? Again, I don't know if that's the money. I'm just throwing out money. I'm just throwing out a figure there. But it has to be more than what the Mayweather buyout was, which was $750,000, which was
surely they make that
low.
back. Surely they make that back. Spence fight, maybe a Thurman fight, maybe a Pacquiao fight. Think of all the fights.
I mean, like I said, I'm gonna have an article coming out soon talking about the market and this bubble that might burst. And in large part, that's a concern that this increase in overall expenditures on fighters, on just overall the content of boxing, when you aren't getting the return, it's a long-term issue. You can have lost leaders like Canelo and certain guys, but if lost leaders is now an industry norm, that is a massive issue. And I think a Terrence Crawford buyout, getting him probably what his market value would be in this current market, same with an Earl Spence and all these guys fighting, we're talking mega millions comparative to the mid-2000s when those guys were fighting on pay-per-view and HBO. Right? I mean, I would say even though maybe Spence, Porter, Spence, Danny, Spence, Crawford, Porter, Crawford, Danny, all these sort of machinations of matchups, they're all probably making more in guaranteed money than the heyday of Morales, Barrera, Pacquiao fighting on HBO pay-per-view. Right?
For sure.
And it's not an Al Heyman thing. I don't know if the sport can handle that cost long term, but that's beside the point. Short term, I absolutely agree with the narrative that, hey, let's get Terrence Crawford to this side of the street as fast as possible. How do you do that? Buy out his contract. And guys, any thoughts?
I can't. I mean, it depends. The Floyd Mayweather $700 and whatever $1,000 it was like the best deal since they brought Manhattan for like $24 or whatever it was. Like, that was insane because he was being offered $12 million at that time to fight Margarito, and he turned it down to buy himself out of that contract because he wanted the Oscar fight, and that took a while to make. But if it's $20 million, or anywhere near that, 10 to 20 million, there's no way I was buying him out of that. That I can see. I mean, it's not worth it to him because he can make money on all these other fights. So why would I put up 10 million to make a slightly better fight? You know what I'm saying? It's not worth the risk to me.
And on top of that, it's not like he's just the buyout and he's done paying Crawford. Like
he's still got to pay him.
Pay him for each one of those fights coming up against the Spence, the Porters, the Garcias, which he's going to be asking for a lot, which he would deserve in this current market environment. And again, sort of tapping into how much money it could be, he does have a long-term deal with Top Rank. So you add all those fights up, how much money it is, it's going to be a lot. I'm just curious if they ever go down that road, what information we could find out, because I'm just interested in, obviously, those type of business maneuvers. But guys, digressing from the lack of real options for Terrence Crawford, which we got off from the Abakadorov-Collazo fight. Any other thoughts on the undercard here? I know, Rob, you didn't really see it because it wasn't on UK television or anywhere. Shout out to Top Rank dropping the ball there. But, Gary, I know you probably saw all these undercard fights. I gave brief thoughts on them on yesterday's show. What have your any thoughts on, Michael Seals, Julian Rodriguez, anyone like that?
I was good to see Julian Rodriguez back. I always want to call him J-Rod. I don't know why, but it was good to see him back. He looked good enough. He looked sharp. You could tell there's some ring rust there, and because he hasn't fought in like 2 years, right?
Is it that
It's been a while. It's been a while. I don't know what happened to him. I guess promotional issues or managerial issues.
Yep, 2 years. It's been 2 years. Almost to like the month, too. It's like actually a little bit less than 2 years, like a year and like 10 months. But yeah, 2 years.
I thought Julian Rodriguez looked well. I thought the main event was great. And I thought all the prospects looked at least reasonably good. Everyone had a great performance except for Max Kellerman. I don't know what his deal is, but there was the thing about Gvozdyk quitting, and then he made another comment that he made on Max on Boxing 2, where he said that boxing doesn't deliver as many good events consistently as the other American sports, which is just an insane statement, right? Because baseball is unwatchable for 6 months out of the year.
Yes.
Football, you got the Patriots and the Jets on Monday night. Anyone looking forward to that? Then there's no football for 8 months. And the football's 4 months. So that comment, which he kept saying over and over again, like it was the bumper sticker, makes zero sense at all. There's boxing every week, year round. There's no football, which is the top American sport, for 8 months out of the year or 7 months out of the year. So that comment made no sense. Then there was the Gvozdyk comment. I don't know if he's trying to get himself fired or like none of this none of it made any sense.
I think I can kind of understand what Max was, again, trying to articulate, which is just the saturation topic of combat sports. That there's a lot of combat sports every weekend. Think about how many events there are every weekend. UFC, boxing, kickboxing, bare knuckle, include it all in the mix. It all competes with each other in some way. And how many of those 80, 100 fights every weekend are amazing fights? And then it's that every weekend. Maybe you have 2 or 3 great fights every weekend, maybe 4, maybe 5, if you're lucky. That the large percentage of boxing fights that are televised or streamed are not A, competitive, B, elite level boxing.
But that's true of every sport. But
let me finish. I think making a argument about the sport being oversaturated, how do we fix that, is completely separate from trying to compare it to other sports, because it's hard to compare a sport that is every week and sometimes like Fridays, Thursdays, Wednesdays every week, to compare it to sports that are on for 4 months, 6 months, 9 months every year. And that's it. And have complete off seasons where they're not putting on any content. And it's just, to me, that's incomparable for Max to do that. He should have stuck it more with, hey, this is just our industry. We're talking about oversaturation, how there is a lot of content out there that is not great boxing. Let's talk about that. That, to me, is an isolated topic, separated from the analogies to other sports, because they're bad analogies.
They are bad analogies, but Max can't say the oversaturation because ESPN is like numero uno perpetrator of giving us crap boxing.
Absolutely.
I don't care. I love crap boxing. I'd rather crap boxing than no crap boxing, right? Mm-hmm. Well, than no boxing. I'd rather watch their crap that they give you in the UK.
No, that's a really illogical argument. Okay, because it's not a binary. It's not a It's not a binary is probably the best way to phrase it. It's not a binary conversation. It's not a, hey, it's either no boxing or shit boxing. It's, no, we can have bad boxing, we can have no boxing, we can have decent boxing, we can have good boxing, we can have great boxing, we can have high level, like, there's a spectrum to boxing, and we can ask and demand as consumers which one we want. And if we don't get the one we want, then speak out. And media is the same way.
No, I'm speaking out against bad.
But you made it where it's the point of...
I'm speaking out against...
Sorry, but you made it to the point of you either get... I'd rather have bad boxing than no boxing. I think that's not a proper way to frame the argument. I'd rather have good boxing than anything else. And if you're not going to give me good boxing, then I'd rather not have it.
I didn't mean to set up some kind of false dichotomy
where
there's only bad boxing or...
I know
no
you
boxing.
Didn't actually mean that, but, listeners, have to always... frame conversations as best as we can, and excuse me, I think there's always a defeatist mindset with sports fans, especially boxing fans, and that mentality, I think, plays into it, because I've heard that a lot of times. Like, that's not a new thing that people have said. I'd rather have bad boxing than no boxing. That's always the response to oversaturation. And I think that's a bad response. I think we can, maybe this isn't the show for it, but there is definitely a better way to look at this argument than I'd rather have something than nothing. Rob, I know you've been extra quiet over there.
No, I know what you mean. the more we just accept bad, the more bad we'll get. So I think you have to be sort of vocal about it. I think in time the public opinion is heard and the certain fights do get made. Again, we're left waiting and waiting and waiting for it, and we maybe get some shit in between, but we'll be typical boxing fans, and when Spence and Crawford gets made, we'll be hyped and looking forward to it and kind of forget at the time of all the shit that was in between waiting for the fight to happen. But we can't just put up with crap after crap after crap. But I don't see it that way. I watch everything, but I'm not accepting of certain things, but that's good at the moment, I think.
Well, Rob's gonna love this comment, but like Eddie's smaller cards, I don't want to call them crap cards, smaller cards.
The next gen cards.
The next gen card, that's what they're called. I couldn't think of the next gen cards. For what they are, for smaller cards, for smaller cost cards, they're usually pretty fun to watch.
Yes.
Right? It used to be like the old school Tuesday night fights, which I don't even know if Matt's old enough to remember. But it's like, okay, it is what it is. It's a low budget card, but the fights are pretty entertaining, and you have some future name value, right? Like I feel like those cards that Eddie puts together, on a shoestring budget over the UK, are decent cards for what they are. It's not like what ESPN gives you when they have boxing in the UK. It's like these cards are. I don't even know any of these guys. I'm not interested in any of these guys. This is tough to watch.
Well, I think the thing is here we've got certain guys like the Bellews, the Brooks, and people like that. It's all coming to an end. So it's about, I guess, the next generation and obviously next gen. But it's, I don't know. I don't see sometimes you guys are like, oh, who's this guy? This kid's not been on TV yet. He's 21-0, and it's like, wait. He's 21-0 and no one's seen him on TV yet and things like that. But we're seeing guys from debut until they get to where they get. We've had Joshua from debut. Yeah, he was Olympic gold medalist. Maybe that's slightly wrong, but I've seen like Conor Benn from his debut. We've seen, I don't know. And I am invested. Like I don't expect when I see all like the DAZN, what's this fucking trash on DAZN? It's like, well, you've now got a link to the UK fights, but these fights weren't necessarily intended for you, but you're a boxing fan, so maybe you'd like to watch some boxing, but you're going to hate on it because of what it is. Who the fuck is this guy? This guy's I don't know this guy, but I just feel...
Sorry.
No, I'm just saying it's not necessarily for that market. There's the English guys, the tickets sell, there's people from that area buying tickets for it's an all English fight or it's an all UK event. It is a UK card. So, but I don't know. If I had easy access to ESPN cards, PBC cards, and they were on, who was it? Someone tweeted it earlier, like, oh, it's a great week for boxing next week. Regis Prograis and Taylor against, and then it goes into Lubin's card, right? Next week.
Mm-hmm.
People said, oh, there's some fun fights on both. I'm really looking forward to the Regis Prograis and Taylor fight, and then that fight on the PBC card, that's a good fight. I'm looking forward to that. Great like day of boxing, or like from afternoon through to evening, the night. And I was like, I wish it was that way round for us as well, that I would have like an afternoon through to night rather than nighttime or early, evening through to 4 a.m. in the morning. I'd want to watch all these cards, but we don't necessarily have that. So I don't know. You're going to get good stuff. You're going to get bad stuff. You're going to get, none of these matchmakers put a fight on and they think, oh, that's going to gel well. That's going to be a good fight. And then, oh, fuck, it was poor. Or I don't know. You just got to take it for what it is when it happens and hope the next one's a good one. I don't know.
I very quickly. There's a couple different things I want to address. First off, people in the chat talking about how this is a negative topic. Look, there are issues within the industry that are worth addressing. I think boxing as a whole is doing great. I think everyone knows that. But to not address issues within the industry is just asinine and ignorant. You can be an ostrich, put your head in the sand. I'm not going to be that. Now, to Rob's point about... I'm gonna rephrase how you said it because I forget exactly your exact words, obviously. But you said something to the effect of we just like take the good with the bad. I think something to that effect, right? You said
Yeah.
and I understand that mindset. Obviously, you're far more optimistic about everything than I am.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people, when they have that mindset, they check out of actually criticizing the product, criticizing the sport, which is healthy. Like, criticizing something that you love is a healthy thing, guys. Like, us on this show.
Yeah, you must love us loads.
I do love you guys a lot. That's why I criticize you guys. And vice versa. Like, there's definitely times Rob has criticized me and how I conduct myself and vice versa. And that there's a healthy aspect to that in any dynamic, in any relationship, whether it's...
We will be talking about this bit right now later on, okay?
Whether it's co-hosts, whether it's friends, whether it's consumers and a company that they're consuming a product from, there's a dynamic there. There's an ebb and flow there. And criticism, constructive criticism, is a very healthy part of that. So, in a sport that we all love, because if you listen to the show, you love boxing probably, right? There are issues within it that I think we all can sort of point out rather easily. Maybe there are some that we can't, that we may have to sort of have a discussion about, that whether or not this is really an issue. But there should be an acceptance that this is allowed, that this conversation, that this discussion about the negatives of boxing, when there are a lot of positives, but the negatives of boxing that are worth addressing, that need to be addressed, and therefore, let's have that discussion as a community, as a fan base, because when we don't have those discussions, when we don't criticize the product, it doesn't get better. That's how we get the dark ages of boxing, a la what everyone said, from 2001 to 2010. Everyone criticized, even though there's some great fights there. But there is a healthy aspect to criticism. And to act like that doesn't belong in this space is just ignorant. And I know that wasn't directly to you, Rob, but more broadly just to the mindset of, oh, let's take the good with the bad. I think that's a defeatist mentality. No, let's praise the good and criticize the bad. We can do both. It's not that hard, in my opinion. We can say, oh, look, Beterbiev, Gvozdyk, great fight. Or Beterbiev. I'm trying to get better at it. Beterbiev, Gvozdyk, great fight. How much promotion did it have? Is Top Rank actually actively trying to make these guys crossover stars in any way?
Can I address that real quick? Because we haven't even talked about it. Matt's favorite prospect and one of the biggest American prospects in the sport is fighting this week against another undefeated prospect, and no one's even mentioned it, right? And I put that on ESPN. It's like, look, Shakur Stevenson is a kid from the biggest market in the country with all-world skills, and no one even knows he's fighting this week.
Time out. You know what's so funny? I was legit going like, man, who the fuck is Gary talking about? Who was fighting this weekend that I can't remember, right? I'm like, no, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking like, oh, Joe Cordina's on the Taylor undercard. I'm like, is he? I'm like, no, he isn't. I'm like, oh, Shakur Stevenson.
Joey Gonzalez.
You are absolutely right. I completely forgot that fight is this weekend. But then again, this weekend is highly competitive. Bad scheduling.
And Josh Greer Jr. is on that card too.
That's a good card.
Yeah.
That should be a Friday card. Honestly, like, why is that on a Friday night ESPN card? And leave the Saturday to the Progress Taylor, leave Saturday to the Showtime card, which is going to have more traction and more promotion than you guys, unfortunately, which is crazy to say and think about, but it's probably the truth that the Lubin and Robert Easter doubleheader is going to have more promotion from Showtime, a network with 24 million subscribers in the U.S., compared to ESPN promoting Shakur Stevenson with 87-ish million subscribers in the U.S.
Showtime still got that many?
Stop.
Wow.
They have really good TV shows, man.
Oh, yeah, they must have.
City on a Hill is fantastic. Digressing, though. It's just sad. Shakur Stevenson should be a guy that's talked about way more than what he is. just from a pure athletic standpoint. Obviously, the not domestic violence, but the assault case that he had, I think was an issue for them. I don't think they'd realize they didn't know how to adjust to that, in my opinion. And I also don't think that he handled it quite well, to be honest. But
it's easy to adjust to. Don't do it.
No, I mean from a PR perspective.
Oh, right, yeah.
They just chose not to talk about Shakur for a while instead of addressing it and moving on and to keep promoting him, which is what you kind of need to do. And they didn't do that. I think that kind of hurt their mindset on the push of Shakur. It did. It hampered that in some way. It had to. But anyways, digressing. What else do we have? No other top rank stuff here. We're good. Fights, no more on the Beterbiev Gvozdyk card.
No. Let's get on to the other.
Move on. Ritson, Robbie Davies Jr. put on a really fun fight. And, I got to say, I'm right about both men here in terms of their level. I've been right. But this was a fun fight, and I would leave it at that. If you want more of my thoughts about this, check out yesterday's show. Rob, you've always been a big Ritson fan, and honestly, I think you've been a fan of Robbie Davies Jr. as well. Scott Fitzgerald, I think you've liked, even though he fought your boy, Anthony Fowler. Thoughts on the card?
Yeah, the main event, co-main, I was pleased with. There's some stuff underneath that I wasn't amazing, but Bakoli put on a good display against Kingpin. I thought he was very patient and selective with his shots and didn't get frustrated by Kevin Johnson. Trying that what you call shoulder roll style, yeah, and he was real selective with it and turned it up when he needed to and let fire with some good combinations. So, I was quite pleased with him. I'll interested to see what comes for him next. Eddie Hearn said in the telecast that if Frank Warren wants to send a real offer for Bakoli, he'd happily put him in with Daniel Dubois. So I don't know. We'll see. But I can see him obviously fighting an in-house kind of matchroom guy anyway. Savannah Marshall got a win. Who else was on the card?
By the way, just quickly, I mentioned on yesterday's show, but I need to address it again. The fact her C on her shorts, her opponent, Ashley Curry, was just clearly gone and missing. It was really upsetting.
It was funny.
It bugged me.
No, it was funny.
No.
It was in the court. No, did you? What point did you notice the C was missing?
Was it not missing from the beginning?
No, it was hanging off during her being announced by David Diamante. So I wanted more than anything in the world right now for David Diamante to say, Ashley Curry. And then her cornerman was trying to hold it up. And then he just thought, fuck it, and peeled it off. And then I wanted Diamante to say, Curry. I would have died. I would have legit died if Diamante would have been that on the ball. That would have been epic.
And I'll say it again. I said to you in private. I think I said it on the show, but I keep saying it. Savannah Marshall, as long as you're fighting people that are sub 500 and clearly are not belonging in the ring with you, please keep Clarissa Shields' name out of your mouth. For the love of God. You have no footing to go on at all with that statement. Please stop.
Stop hating.
I can say the same to Savannah Marshall. Fight better competition. Stop hating.
What?
I said fight better competition. Stop hating. But digressing. I did like Martin Bakoli. I thought he looked good. Though Kevin Johnson clearly, though, fading.
Yeah, he is. Well, he fought last week. So he had 8 rounds a week before this.
I'm concerned about Kevin Johnson. I think he should probably hang it up.
I'm not. Eddie kind of alluded to the fact that I think he might be close to done now. So I don't know whether Eddie will get him back for any guys right now. But
now, before we jump to the main event, the co-main event, Cheeseman. Oh, sorry, that was an accident.
Well, poor Cheeseman. I just shot him.
Sorry.
That was for the judges on there.
Cheeseman, Fitzgerald, you guys scored this. I did not score this fight. I just watched it, and I enjoyed it. Was this a robbery, controversial decision, contentious decision? You know, what are we framing this as? I think both you guys scored it for Cheeseman, I want to say.
Go ahead, Rob. It's your card.
It's your card. It was your cousin's, yes.
I think I did originally. I felt Cheeseman won a lot of the early rounds. By the end, yeah, I felt Cheeseman might have got it by a round, maybe two. I've watched it again. Okay. I watched the card again this morning, and I can see the Fitzgerald win by a round. But some of the cards I feel were way too wide. I think one of them had
8-4. Yeah.
Yeah, that was poor, I thought. So as far as a robbery or anything like that, not at all, in my opinion. Close rounds, a lot of close rounds, but not a robbery, but the actual scoring of it. See, again, you can have close rounds and one judge is going to see it 8-4 to one guy and one guy's going to see it, 6-6, and another guy's going to see it 8-4 the other way. It's just one of those when they are close rounds. But I felt no one expected Cheeseman to come out back foot boxing the way he did and picking his shots and being really selective and quite economical, because he's shown in fights before this he's quite happy to walk forward and use his face as a guard and try and get his combinations off. But don't know if he was worried about Fitzgerald's power, but I felt Fitzgerald was a little bit flat at one point, and he had to really try and turn the screw and get himself in order to win the last, I think, 4 in a row, really, that really tipped him over the edge. I thought he really turned it on late in the fight and he showed that he's decent, but it's, setting up Fitzgerald Fowler, the rematch now. So look forward to that one. Yeah, it's on.
Gary, thoughts on the co-main event?
You're a hardcore, Rob, when you go back and watch Cheeseman versus Fowler. That's Fitzgerald versus Cheeseman. That's how you know you're a hardcore. You got to watch that again and make sure you scored it right. I thought I had it 7-5 for Cheeseman. I had it 7-2 at one point. And I thought Cheeseman gave away the last 3 rounds, like kind of the way that De La Hoya gave away the fight to Trinidad. And
I love how you compared. I know you really didn't compare, like, really, but
there was like,
Fitzgerald, Cheeseman, Trinidad, De La Hoya.
But it was he was outboxing him badly. Like, it was bordering on outclassing him.
I get the comparison, but it was just funny.
Matt, when De La Hoya, the multi-weight world champion, 3 days, last 3 rounds away.
But it's like a college football team who's throwing the ball up and down the field, having a field day, and they take a 21-point lead. And then the second half, they're like, okay, let's just sit back and nurse the lead. And the next thing you know, they lose. Yeah. I still thought Cheeseman won 7 rounds early, so he should have won the fight on my card. I didn't go back and watch it like hardcore Rob. But, like, when he gave away 3 rounds and he arguably lost the 9th, that means he's lost 4 rounds in a row. If you found early rounds to give for Fitzgerald, which isn't unreasonable, we're going to have a close decision here in a fight that 9 rounds in wasn't close. It just seems like Cheeseman didn't know how to respond. Like, he wasn't even expecting to outbox him that badly, and then just said, okay, I think I have the fight won now. I'm just going to get on my bicycle and try to run the clock out. It's like, well, why? You're beating him in every aspect. He's going to come to you, just pot shot him, and do what you've been doing, and you're going to win the rounds by even more, because now you saw it. Fitzgerald came out like shot out of a cannon to start round 10 because you knew he needed every single round from there on out. And Cheeseman just seemed content on running out the clock. If they fought again, I think Cheeseman's going to regret that decision for the foreseeable future. Like, he had that fight won.
Yeah, for sure. And he's come out with a post of going in on corruption in boxing, and he's been done dirty and all that kind of stuff, but just emotions.
First of all, he lost to Beterbiev, so that wasn't corruption. Yeah. And second, look, I thought he won, But if he's looking for someone to blame himself for giving away the last 3 rounds.
You got it, Gary. You got it.
I agree. Main event time. Ritson versus Robbie Davies Jr. Back and forth affair. I like the 12th round. That was a really fun round. Again, more of my thoughts on yesterday's show, but you guys, I want to give you guys the room to talk about it. Rob, Ritson, is he back? Is he going to make the run to beat Josh Taylor, Regis Progress winner?
He's making the run. It might, end when he gets to the final part of that run. But no, look, as much as I took credit for Beterbiev, not that I necessarily made a pick on this, but it was like I said, if Ritson can't get rid of Robbie Davies Jr. like within 6, I can't see him boxing and getting a decision because Robbie Davies Jr. will be too skilled for him, and Ritson won't have the boxing acumen to kind of still take rounds after probably trying to blow him away in the first few, which he kind of did or tried to. I mean, but a real fun fight. Really enjoyed it and just was impressed with Ritson, but not impressed enough to think, we'll gladly have the winner of the Super Series next, please. Thing is, he's gonna make a shit ton of money. Eddie's talking about doing it at his beloved St James's Park, which is the football ground for Newcastle, which will hold sort of 55,000, I think. And there's every chance that could sell out because it's up north. Scotland will come down for it, all the Taylor fans if it's Taylor. And all the Jordans will be there. The Newcastle faithful will be there in full support. I mean, that 9,000 made so much noise last night when they played the Ritson Ring Walk, which is a football, the chant from the Newcastle football team. They chant that on the terraces. But I felt Ritson, he surprised me. He was able to, because Davies Jr. was the bigger guy, and I think the much more skilled guy going into the fight. But Ritson really impressed me, and he, to me, looks like he's grown into the weight a little bit better. But for me to see his power that he seemed to have at domestic level at lightweight, I don't necessarily think it's carried up. Or as he goes up the levels, it's not seems to be so telling as it was for the British lightweight title.
Well, he knocked out Joe Murray. He knocked out Carl. Like, he knocked out that level fighter at 35, right? I mean, you wouldn't say there's that much difference between the guys he fought at 35 and Robbie Davis, right? I mean, that's kind of the same level, and he was able to.
Ritson's been Robbie Davis. I think he's been European, Commonwealth champion, I believe. He's better than the guys that he just Ritson blew away in the.
He fought some Paul Highland. He fought some. I mean, look, these guys aren't world beaters by any stretch, but they're decent fighters. They're not tomato cans. They're names. They're, and Ritson blew those guys out.
Yeah.
The only thing that impressed me about Robbie Davis is his ability to make 140 pounds. That guy's huge.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he's the same height as Mario Barrios. Do you see how Barrios is built? Do you see how Robbie Davis? Like, how do those guys like?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He's 5'11" and he's big. It's like, how does he only weigh 140 pounds 24 hours before a fight? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, but yeah, going forward, you say about making a run at a title. Like I say, he's going to run, he's going to get there. But I think both fighters have said, because it was kind of mentioned before that the win of the Super Series might be in line for one of these guys going forward from whoever wins out of this one. And I think they both freely admitted, Taylor and Prograis, they are on another level compared to them. But they would take their shot. Obviously, it's a lot of money. It's a world title shot. They're not going to shy away from it. So if it presents itself, and they end up, getting a title shot in a big fight, that's what a lot of these guys, they do it for. They train hard and try to go as far as they can until the level becomes too much. So, not going to knock them for taking it. when probably they shouldn't, but go for it. That's what they're in the sport for.
Agreed on all parts.
Agreed. You didn't even listen to any of it. What are you talking about?
This is completely off tangent. I just have someone that's like a prominent MMA media member attacking me on social media, and it is hilarious. So I'm just reading the tea and everything.
Play with it after, Matt.
I'm sorry. Somebody was sending me links. I'm like, oh, I gotta see this. This is hilarious. But digressing, let's move on. I'll get to that bullshit later. Speaking of potential bullshit, though, actually, I don't think it's bullshit. By way of person's name on social media is Fight Ghost, but I know the reporter, I think or maybe not the reporter, I think they one of the rankers for the transnational ranking, whatever. They're one of those guys, right? He is reporting by way of Dave Meltzer, who's a longtime industry insider, talking about Anthony Joshua making $75 million for the Ruiz rematch. Big Baby Miller recently came out as well and said the same. David Bixenspan, a pro wrestling journalist, I think he works for Sports Illustrated, he mentioned that that Saudi Arabia has given the WWE over $50 million for each event for a lump sum, and that this isn't entirely out of the realm of possibility. So when he said that, it made it a little bit more or a little bit less far-fetched. That's $75 million upfront sum for Anthony Joshua, because it looks like that's what they're paying over there. Wow. Thoughts, guys, on AJ potentially making $75 million via the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia?
Touch on two things there. First, you said professional wrestling journalist. I didn't know that was like a career, like a WWE journalist.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gary, you do realize like when SmackDown happens on like Fox, they get 5 million viewers, right?
No, I know. I just don't know how you investigate it. All right. I didn't know professional wrestling. It doesn't sound a little funny to you, Matt? I'm a professional wrestling journalist.
Well, there's journalists about movies and TV shows, and that's completely fabricated and fake.
I guess, yeah. All right, like entertainment journalist. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It just sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it?
It does. Now you know why Andy Ruiz was holding out for so much more money. Like, if there's that kind of money in the fight, and you're offering him 75, I may be contractually obligated to 8 or 9 or whatever he agreed to, but I'm going to try my dangest to weasel some more money out, because I didn't know there was that much. He was getting 75. So, I mean, if that's true, now you know why Andy Ruiz did not want to make the rematch official.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's. I know some have been like, no way, there's no way he's getting this. But, what is it? Site fees rumored between, 50 and 100 million? I don't think there's been solid reporting on the actual number. You've got, I guess, Joshua will have all kinds of sponsorship. He's going to have UK pay-per-view. Yeah, I don't see it's like out of the realms of possibility. It sounds high, but I wouldn't rule it out. I know Big Baby said, I've heard Joshua's getting 75 million just to go to Saudi Arabia. So he was confirming the fact that I will fight anyone in Saudi Arabia. So if that kind of money's knocking around. So it seems to me maybe a bit on the higher end of what it probably is, but I wouldn't say it's beyond the realms of possibilities. But
they picked Saudi Arabia for a reason. And that reason was money, right? They didn't pick.
No. It was just a neutral venue, Gary. Come on.
Right. They picked it for a reason, because they were giving them the bag to go there.
Yes.
If you would have said 50, I would have said, okay, now this is 50% more than 50, but it's like that's probably a high end estimate, so it's probably 65, 70. But like, they're paying them a lot to go over there. Like, there's a reason why they chose to go to such a godforsaken place.
And quickly, Top Dog Boxing saying $75 million for the card or one fighter, because obviously the WWE example I brought up, that was for the event, right? It was $50 million for the WWE to come to Saudi Arabia. I would assume it would be for the event to come, but AJ's getting a lion's share of that because he's the A side and he's the top billing. And
I mean, it is the 100 million that is the top end of what has been the reporting of it. If there's 100 million in the pot, Joshua's getting what, 75 or 70. Ruiz getting a reported what, 10, 11.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's still, say it's 70 and then 10. There's still 20 million left, right?
Oh no, there's a lot. Like he's again getting a lion's share of that. For example,
yeah. So there's still 20 million, even if Joshua's taking 70 and Ruiz is having 10. That's 20 million left of the. If it was 100 million pot.
Sorry, I thought you were done. For anyone that wants to know how that like big fight business works, the Canelo Amir Khan full financial like documentation got disclosed via the Golden Boy Al Heyman lawsuit. I want to say it was that lawsuit specifically. So if you want to like find out what the back end money looks like, how much it is, how much does a guy like Canelo get out of the event total revenue, a la AJ for his sort of respective brand and promoter, Matchroom and Sky and everything, he's getting a lion's share of it as well. You can see how they're making 3 or 4 times maybe than what is disclosed on paper. And God knows what's going to be disclosed on here, or even if we're going to find that out, because it's the Saudi Arabia Boxing Commission, last time I checked, that has jurisdiction of this event. God knows how that's going to go. But moving on, I think we're all in agreement that this number seems at least likely for the event, and AJ is 100% guaranteed to get the lion's share of that. Whether this is $75 million purely to AJ, yet to be seen. But regardless, clearly it was a huge money grab, and we knew that from the get-go. Like, this isn't really shocking at all.
Yeah, and people said he shouldn't take the rematch straight away.
Well, now he should.
Yes.
And that's why after he loses again and gets knocked out quicker, he should retire. Enjoy your $75 million.
What was that at the end? A hand gesture.
Take the $75 million and be gone.
75 mil.
75 mil. Deuces.
Oh, deuces. Okay, I got you.
He'll never be heavyweight champion again, but he's still rich.
Gary, you're going crazy right now. He'll never be heavyweight champion again.
If you gave me $75 million right now, I would never work another day in my life.
Well, you wouldn't be here right now?
Oh, I'd be here. Yeah, I'd be here. That's true.
No, you wouldn't. I wouldn't be here. I'll be honest, guys. If I got $75 million, I would not do MCR, guys. Sorry. But that's not going to happen.
Would you send me a really generous super chat if I carried it on, Matt?
I will have a chauffeur come pick you up every day and drive you to work, Rob.
Look, if I got a cool $75 million, Rob, you're guaranteed to get at least $5 million of that.
Right, that's on public record. Get in.
Yeah, first he's got to get $75 million, and then 5 of that.
But, all right, I'm in on it. He hasn't promised you anything yet, Gary. So, in your face.
Gary can have like my PS4 or something.
I want that.
Not bad, Gary. Not bad.
Hey, retail price $400.
Sit on that couch.
You know, moving on.
You don't want that couch.
You know what? I'll give Gary my equipment. You know, so he can keep doing like 3D boxing blog with like all my mixers and everything. He can do all that. There you go. See, because if I have $75 million or $70 million after I give Rob 5, I can go buy more equipment and better equipment. Not an issue. Moving on though. Speaking of maybe an issue, but probably not. Gervonta Davis, per Mike Coppinger and sources, is set to fight Yuriorkis Gamboa December 28th on Showtime. Badou Jack will meet John Pascal as the co-main event. Atlanta is the front runner to host the event. I love that idea because that's where Tank lives. And New York City is also in play. This will be for some vacant bullshit regular title that no one cares about. This one, I guess I have to say that, whatever. Though, I'll be honest, I don't think this matchup is all that bad. I know I'm going to get hate for that. I've seen worse. And I do think the Badou Jack, John Pascal fight makes complete sense. Both guys lost, or at least one lost to Marcus Brown. The other did beat Marcus Brown. Why not? Make that fight. The winner can potentially, especially if it's John Pascal, he could fight anyone. So maybe John Pascal back having a career renaissance and could be fighting Bivol or Bivol again, or Beterbiev or anyone else, or Beterbiev. My bad. I'm working on it. Failing epically. But Gamboa Davis is just it's an introduction fight to the weight class. If he's continuing to fight bad opposition after this, then bring out the pitchforks. But for this one fight, I don't feel like it's as big of a deal as, let's say, like the Nunes fight or the other one that I can't remember. This is a much better matchup than those. And I'll be honest, I think it might sound crazy, but like I even like this fight, especially if him just going up to 135. I like this more than a Leo Santa Cruz fight, which we're going to talk about soon. Because I'd rather have Leo stay at 126 and fight Gary Russell. Like I don't want to see a Gervonta Leo fight. That does nothing for me. I'd rather Gervonta go on his own path away from the Leo Santa Cruzes and Gary Russells of the world. It makes no sense to me at this point in time. But guys, thoughts on Gervonta Davis versus Gamboa on Showtime? Badu Jag, John Pascal, co-main event.
I love Gervonta because he only fights the best. For a young champion, he doesn't care. He'll fight anyone. No, look, I mean, it is what it is. It's a name. It's Gamboa. I like Gamboa. I like Tank. I don't know how much Gamboa's got left in the tank, but I don't hate the fight. For a new weight class, it's a fine introduction fight to the weight class, so I'm okay with it.
Okay and fine. I feel like we can be the two choice words and adjectives we use about this matchup. It's fine. It's okay. It's all right. Rob?
It's all right.
Yep. Yep.
You went with the third option.
I think some of it just stems from we keep getting told he's a pay-per-view star. He's a star. He's a star. And it's like, well, by this point, didn't Floyd already have like marquee names on his...
Oh, marquee names.
Like,
yeah, he
yes,
did.
Yes,
good level wins. Like,
absolutely.
People
No, absolutely. Now, are you talking about age or just like number of fights? Because that's like where we get into the weird situation. Because Gervonta is so young relative to the amount of fights he has.
But so was Floyd. I mean, Floyd beat Gennaro Hernandez when he was like 21, 22. He beat Angel Manfredi.
No, you're right. Okay, no, you're right. No, you're right. You're right. I thought he was a little bit older than that. I thought he was more like 23, 24 when he fought those guys. No, you're right. You're right.
Matt's taking his word for it that's the right age at the right time.
No, I believe he's right about that. Gary, first off, was around then. I wasn't. Like,
Matt wasn't even born. Oh, you were born.
I was born.
Like
Hop off.
But you were born.
Hop off. Don't relax, buddy.
Oh yeah, Gary, whatever you do, don't make Matt actually 26 or 7 or something. Damn.
Older than I am. I'm digressing. To your point, right. I definitely agree that I think the hate that maybe this matchup is getting, or just Gervonta period, is a compounding issue. People have been upset with Gervonta Davis for a while now, and combine that with the rhetoric from Leonard Ellaby, Floyd Mayweather himself, about his career, it's clearly not matching up with what we're seeing in the record right now and what you're telling us. So something's not right here. Either fix your record or fix the rhetoric, right? If the rhetoric changes, so you know what, Gervonta, we're building him back up. You know, he's had some off performances here and there. He's been in and out of training camp. We're trying to get him back on path here. Then I think a lot of people sort of stop complaining as much, or at least a good percentage. Same if they stop the whole, he's the next pay-per-view star. If they stop that rhetoric, I think the criticism dies down a bit. Because then we don't expect him to do the things that he's telling us he's doing.
Yeah.
If you're telling us you're a pay-per-view star, that you're the next Floyd Mayweather, we're expecting to fight Floyd Mayweather level competition and to have Floyd Mayweather numbers. Both things aren't true.
Floyd was 21 when he fought Gennaro Hernandez and 21 when he fought Angel Manfredi.
Deuces.
Gary's so happy he's right there. Look at him.
Yeah, he's so good with his research. Yeah, exactly. It's just how I feel, Matt, because at the minute it's, yeah, but who's he fighting? Yeah, but who's he fighting? He's bringing up a guy from the division below. He's bringing up a guy from the division. He's getting all that, and but he's a pay-per-view star. He's a star, but he's a pay-per-view. And it's like, so when when is he going to be a pay-per-view star, which we possibly will get into in a minute. But that to me is what it is. I don't particularly hate it. Yeah, he's probably getting a bunch of, I think, by the time the fight comes around, because is it slated for, what was it, December 28th or something like that? Gamboa will be 38 then. So now it's, but, maybe it's someone in the weight category, but now it's a 38-year-old.
That would be the thing.
Fading. I mean, this could be quite a horrible knockout, probably, but...
People use that criticism against like Gvozdyk with the Adonis Stevenson fight, which I think is just completely out of pocket. But digressing from that, I think similar situation, though not entirely 1-to-1. Obviously, Ryan Garcia, a guy who had a lot of rhetoric that was around him of being the next Golden Boy, right? The next Canelo, and he had some bad performances, right? The rhetoric has changed completely around him. And now he's fighting a guy named Duno. Literally, like, Duno. I don't know. Duno, okay, who I think, honestly speaking, all you guys in the chat, I doubt most of you have watched him fight. Just being honest. Like, I've watched one of his fights, okay? But that fight is getting high praise. Why? Because the rhetoric around Ryan Garcia isn't that he's the next big thing. It's that, he's not even the best guy, best prospect in our stable. We don't know how good he is. Okay, then maybe this fight is more competitive now. Like the psychological framing it does to the consumer is massive. And it's crazy that these promoters that have been in the game for decades literally don't understand that.
Did Eric Gomez play a blinder and make out Ryan scared of this guy? That this guy is a beast.
In a way to promote the fight and make it sound competitive.
And now Ryan Garcia's co-main event on Canelo Kovalev.
And look, I don't think he did that on purpose, but I think it is a byproduct of that framing.
Yeah, by now people think, they do know. I think he's legit. He's legit.
Absolutely.
He's going to take this young kid, this young protege's fucking.
Absolutely.
And just, we thought Braulio was going to do it, but he didn't.
Oh, man, Braulio, what up?
Yeah.
Where is he at? But digressing, Gervonta Davis has been linked, obviously, post this fight to fight Leo Santa Cruz and actually go back down to 130 and fight him there.
For his old belt.
Now, and on pay-per-view. That's also
on pay-per-view.
That's a pay-per-view main event. I think every single aspect of that story, I hope, is not true. Because it makes no sense. Like, you're moving him up to 135 to build him towards a Lomachenko super fight. Do that. Don't go back down to 130 and then fight Leo Santa Cruz for a title that you just vacated. It reminds me, not, again, 1-to-1 analog, but in similar ways to when Peter Quillen vacated his belt, right? And then Andy Lee and, who was it? Fought for the title. I think it was Matt Korobov, right? Gary? Right. But Andy Lee picked up the belt, right? That was vacant. And all of a sudden,
yes.
And then Peter Quillen ended up fighting Andy Lee for the title that he just vacated. And it was this big, like, what the fuck is happening here? Like, this made no sense. And they had a great fight. I think it ended up being a draw. I could be wrong about that. But it was one of those fights where it was like, yeah, it was a great fight, but this whole unnecessary path to get here was just forced and not needed. And I feel like, again, Gervonta and Leo Santa Cruz, if they wanted to make that fight, they should have made it a year ago. But they waited a year. Gervonta's moving up in weight class. Leo's moving up in a weight class. Both guys fighting for vacant regular belts, it seems. No, sorry. Canseal's not being elevated. He's being stayed in status quo of just a regular champion. Leo's fighting for the super belt when never fighting in the weight class. And then we're going to have this matchup of Gervonta going back down to 130. It makes no fucking sense. When you could just have Gervonta fight Gamboa, maybe fight Miguel Bertrand. Who else would be sort of perennial contenders and veterans at 135? Depending about what happens with Tricome. If he loses against Tifon Lopez, Richard Tricome, Gervonta Davis, that would be an amazing fight. I think everyone would be happy with. And that would be fights that get you towards a Lomachenko fight. And those are all legacy-building fights as well in some way. But no, you're going to do this half-ass, move up to 135, but go back down to 130, fight Leo on a pay-per-view, no one's asking for on pay-per-view. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Yeah, he was actually asked, will that be at 135, 130? He said, I got no problem going back down. Whatever's more comfortable for Leo, I'll do it. So
he doesn't have any problems. How many times has he missed on the first attempt at making 35? He lost his belt
30.
2 years ago at trying to make 30. Like, once he goes up to 35, there's no going back. He struggles to make 30 anyway. Once he sees that, look, 35, I don't have to kill myself, he ain't going back down to 30. It's not like he's comfortably makes 30. Like, we've been talking about him leaving the division for a long time now. He's not going back. That's all nonsensical talk. He could have fought Gary Russell or Santa Cruz if he would have called him out, but he didn't want to fight those guys, or they didn't want it for him. So he's not now that he left that weight class, he's going to go fight those guys now. It's not going to happen. And there's just too much money. Like, there are so many, and like, we think of Tank as being a lot older, but he's not that much older than Teofimo Lopez or Hector Tanahara or any of those superstar prospects at 135. So he'll stay there, and there'll be a ton of big fights for
Joe
him there.
Cordina. If you're going to mention prospects that really should be called superstar prospects,
yeah,
throw in Joe Cordina in there as well, because he's a better prospect than Hector Tanahara. Get your fucking facts straight.
Broaden those horizons, Gary. Just say other people not from Texas.
But anyway,
I said Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah, you did.
I think we're all in agreement here that a Gervonta Davis, Leo Santa Cruz fight back at 130 makes no sense, and on pay-per-view makes even less sense, and it's a slap in the face to consumers and fans.
He's a star.
And at that time, I guess Santa Cruz is leaving, because I always wanted to see Figueroa fight Santa Cruz. Like, that would be like fight of the year, 1,000 punches from each guy. Like, and now I guess that's not going to happen because, or
Leo's moving up.
Yeah, moving up.
Moving on, because it's just depressing. Benavidez Yildirim approved by the WBC after the doping investigation is finished. Just not gonna get into that actual investigation from the WBC because it's the WBC investigating their own program. Who cares? Benavidez Yildirim. I mean, it's a fun fight because obviously Yildirim looked far better against Anthony Durrell than he did against Chris Eubank.
Well, yeah, he didn't end up fucking spark unconscious.
So I think the opinion about Yildirim is like it's balanced out a little bit, you know, from that Chris Eubank knockout loss to the Durrell fight, which was a really fun and back and forth affair.
You know why Mauricio has done this, though, right?
Why?
Because he doesn't want, I fuck your wife in your bed.
He doesn't want that smoke, man. I don't want that smoke. I mean, that's why I'm not talking shit about Yildirim right now. But I will say this. At least this fight will be fun. Like, I see both guys meeting in the center and exchanging, but Benavidez should win this one fairly easily and should get the knockout relatively soon as well. I'm thinking 4 to 6 rounds. Because, again, Yildirim is there to be hit, unlike an Anthony Durrell in the matchup against Benavidez. This is a far easier stylistic matchup for Benavidez than his previous one. Guys, any thoughts on this mandatory fight for David Benavidez?
Yeah, fun for if you're Camp Benavidez for sure.
Oh yeah,
and it's fun for Camp Yildirim. But yeah, you know, this has been investigated and made public before the convention, which I believe has now started. So keep your notifications on for that. WBC is going to be out there dropping news left, right, and center this week. Don King's there, so expect Trevor Bryant to be the WBC mandatory. I mean, I'm just making shit up. But yeah, no, it's all right fight, I guess. It's mandatory.
Gary, any thoughts? Are you good? It's fine.
Not really. We can move to the next topic.
Awesome. I love it, guys. 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. If you want to call in, international callers, Skype, Mix Combat Radio. If you have no callers, I'm kind of going to just immediately jump out. So if you want to call in now and get in the queue, because I have a sick kid right now and got to go deal with that, which is not fun, but got to go deal with it after this show. Eddie Hearn, I think we talked a little bit about this, Rob, to remind me exactly what we reported on. But the Devin Haney, Peter Petrov, Josh Kelly, David Avanesian, and Tevin Farmer, Jojo Diaz fight. I thought we reported on all of that. Am I wrong? Because it was in the topic chat again.
But it looks like we're going to get Devin Haney, Peter Petrov on the KSI Logan Paul card.
Let's first talk about that. Then we're going to talk about Josh Kelly, and then make them separate topics here because they're all notable names. Haney Petrov's a fun fight, and I know Petrov's like 36 now. He's a guy that clearly isn't what he I think was thought of when he was like 30 years old. But Gary, can you do me a favor? Can you mute your gain? Not mute yourself. Can you just turn the gain down just slightly? Or just mute yourself when your kid's crying. That'd be amazing.
Oh.
Shit, yeah. I forgot I was home alone with his kid.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's home alone now anymore. Digressing though.
Hope not.
No, I think his sister-in-law is there. Digressing though. Not Josh Kelly. Haney Petrov. Haney to me is a guy that clearly just needs a stay busy fight. And this is a relatively decent stay busy fight. For a fight that's being made on less than a month's notice and still yet to be officially made, I think. This is probably the best case scenario we could have got, to be honest. Like, the other names that they could maybe throw in there, but there's no way we've seen would be like a Dennis Shafikov out of the blue, who we haven't seen in a couple years. You know, somebody that would be really tough, but like only us hardcores know. But even then, they wouldn't do that. They want somebody more like a Peter Petrov, who is beatable, but has fought other guys, who's a barometer for Devin Haney. Again, on short notice, is a notable name for us hardcores, at least in this division. However, I will admit, Rob, this card is looking bad. Like, I was really hoping at least for that Tanahara fight, because like that was at least a personal one for me and Gary. Like, I can get up for that one, right? That didn't happen. Billy Joe Saunders is fighting someone I have literally never heard of in my life. There's no way I'm getting up for that one. And then we have, obviously, KSI Logan Paul.
First, I want to thank you, Matt, for that, because I didn't even hear that, and it was like a big brother beating up little brother thing, so I had to go break that up. So, thank you. I didn't even hear it.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Oh, that's good. That's funny.
you got to let them figure out the pecking order. Just a
couple of broken arms here and there. Who cares? Digressing though. Haney Petrov, while a decent fight, isn't enough to sort of save the card for us hardcores. Rob, Gary, any thoughts on that?
It's all right. I don't think it's horrible. Wasn't Petrov the rumored one to come in and step in for Avery Sparrow when he got arrested?
Yes.
Then nothing ever happened. So, but yeah, it's decent enough. This is better than I believe Billy Joe Saunders has been, paired up with in
exponentially better
people. I think I did mention this, but if you're looking for someone within the WBO rankings and it was a top 10 in the WBO rankings, then you need to drop the word super out of your Google search and just do the WBO middleweight rankings, and there you'll find Billy Joe's opponent. But number 10 in there. Waiting on the rest of the card. I believe we're going to get Cecilia Breakhouse on there.
Ooh, okay.
That
helps.
Possibly. Yeah.
Helps.
Against Bustos, I think, maybe. Seen little rumblings of that, and even that Eddie might be announcing that he's working with Breakhouse from now, but we shall see. And as for other fights on the card, I'm not sure. I haven't seen too many rumors, but Matt, it'd be a fun day. Come on, just
I'm definitely going, obviously, and I'm gonna have a lot of media friends there. Maybe not one of them now, but I'm gonna have a lot of media friends there. And I'm going to make a good time of it, of course. We're going to have fun, at least shitting on it live, watching it. Digressing, though. Gary, is the Haney-Petrov fight enough to save this card in the mind of hardcore fans?
I mean, at least Petrov is a name, but he's a name that lost to everyone. He lost to Flanagan. He lost his as a teach, and I'm going to say Zatitianin.
Yes,
there you go.
Close enough.
Yeah, he's a name, and then he got every time he steps up against a world champion type fighter, he loses. So he'll lose again against Haney, but at least it's a name that I know, right? Like so, I guess, right?
It's
I mean,
fine.
it's now it's a Devin Haney card against the best fighter he's probably fought in his career. Okay, like I'll watch it. I just wish it was Tanahara. That's all.
Oh, I definitely do as well because I want to beef about that shit, and we can't beef about it anymore, Gary, because your man's ducking. It's sad.
By the way, also according to BoxRec, Ronnie Rios is fighting on the card against Hugo Barrio, maybe. Nikita Ababi will be taking on Manjaro Hills. 8 wins, 1 loss. Diego Pacheco, Alexis Espino, and Rashad Mati also on the card.
Anyways, moving on. Josh Kelly linked up to fight David Avanesian to headline his own show before the end of the year. And this is all coming via Eddie Hearn from an IFL interview, by the way. We're just getting it from Michael Benson. Now, again, isolating this topic, we're going to talk about Jojo Diaz and Farmer in a second. Thoughts on this fight? I think it's in a similar way to almost like Petrov, where it's like it's a fine matchup, like it makes sense, like it's a decent one. It's obviously a step up in the right direction, but it's nothing that's gonna, rock your socks off in any way, right? It's not gonna like get you going and get you really hyped for this, but it's a good fight. Guys, thoughts on A, Josh Kelly fighting Avanesian, and B, headlining his own card, I think for the first time.
I don't think much. Kelly fought Ray Robinson.
Yes.
That was the draw.
Yes.
I thought Josh Kelly was pretty good up until I saw that, and like he's pretty limited. I mean, he'll handle Avanesian, you would hope. I mean, Avanesian's best win is 50-year-old Shane Mosley, right? That's what we're giving credit for.
Yep.
Josh Kelly better handle him and better. I don't think he'll knock him out because he doesn't have any pop, but it better be 120 to 108. It better be a Billy Joe Saunders type beatdown, like just outclassing him.
Rob?
I don't know. I just don't want him to switch off during fights and make competitive fights out of what really shouldn't be. So that's all I'm hoping for. There's a new kind of eye of the tiger kind of attitude towards it, and I think he should come away with a victory against Avanesian, who's got some pop, but I mean, I've seen Kelly caught by a couple of decent shots. He seems to be able to take them, but we'll see. But no, card by the end of the year. If going by interviews, that could be December the 21st or 3rd?
21st.
Yeah. So, and that apparently might also be a Frank Warren, Daniel Dubois headlined card.
Ooh, competing cards on the same night in the UK.
Yeah, let's see who announces first.
Have you prepared yourself for the realistic possibility that Josh Kelly's no good?
This is the fight that shows it. Right? This is the fight that really shows it in a way.
We'll find out. I think he is if he stays switched on and does what he does in the early rounds. Cut out some of the, he likes to make the guy miss a lot, and that's fine. But I think there's a lot of wasted energy in some of it. Then when he lets his hands go, he can overwhelm. And I know he's not got that huge. It seems as he has gone up slight gears and levels. I mean, the power isn't quite there, but I think he sort of goes in this kind of fucking trance and just doesn't stay fully switched on. But that's just my opinion. I get a little frustrated watching him when I see so much potential and talent and pure silky skills, and
doesn't put it together.
It just doesn't stretch out across a 12-round period or a 10-round period. He kind of makes fights more difficult than they should be, in my opinion. But no, I'm looking forward to this one. It's a good step up.
Now moving back to the Eddie Hearn IFL interview. Tevin Farmer, Joseph Diaz in Miami in late January. First off, a winter card in Miami is utter trash. I don't know why you would do that and not in the summertime. Secondly, neither of these guys are from the Miami market in any way, shape, or form. Neither of these guys, I think, could draw in a market that is not a boxing market. So I don't even know what the thinking is behind the setting of this fight. The fight's fine. Like Farmer, Jojo Diaz is a fight that should have happened probably, again, a year ago or 6 months ago now, at least. Now they're making it good. But why in Miami? Why is it on Philly or at least LA? Because Joseph Diaz has a good LA drawing power. Like, what's the thinking behind this? Like, honestly, this fight should be in a small theater in Philly or like the StubHub in LA, or now the renamed Dignity Health Sports Park Arena. Like that's where it should be at. Small venues that are where these guys are from. That's what a regional fight like this is supposed to do. You don't take a regional fight and put it out of its region. It makes no sense.
Yeah, Philly, where they had the fight last night, seems like a great venue for it. Temple University, whatever, Licarius. Seems like a great venue for that fight. Miami, like we've talked about, it's not a fight town. And then to put two guys with no Miami roots or no natural fan base in Miami makes zero sense. It'd be like one thing if you were trying again to sell a Puerto Rican fighter there or a Cuban fighter.
Absolutely.
They're not, but you don't even have that there. Or you have a Philly guy against a Southern California guy. Like, those are two markets you can sell it in. Those two venues, the Temple University where they had last night's fight, Friday night's fight, or the StubHub would be perfect venues. Like, they'd be great venues.
Agreed. And you're going to make more money. You can even make the argument they're bigger markets, period, like full stop, than Miami. At least LA is for sure. Philly's a decent market. It's not maybe as big as Miami, but it's a decent market. It just makes no sense here. I don't understand this move at all. Unlike, let's say, putting Usyk in Chicago, that made somewhat sense because there's a huge Eastern European population in Chicago, huge Ukrainian population in Chicago that's been growing the last 20 years. I can understand why they tapped into that, or at least tried to, and it semi-worked, obviously. But this isn't that in any way, shape, or form. This isn't even like putting like the Irish fighter in Boston and trying to make him a U.S. draw. Like, this isn't even like that level of an attempt of promotion. This is just piss poor. Not matchmaking, but at least setting up the fight, because it's setting up for failure, in my opinion. The ticket sales are going to be poor. The attendance is going to be poor. And God knows what even the size of the venue is that they're going to do. So, just weird. When it is a good fight. Like, it's a fight that should be in front of its natural audience that it's not going to be. Weird. Rob, I feel like we've jumped over you, or at least talked over most of this topic. Any thoughts on Farmer, Jojo Diaz, the fight itself, and then also it being in Miami?
Yeah, I like the fight. I think the fight's fine enough. But yeah, I got to say, in all my sort of time, I can't think of many cards that have hit like Florida, Miami, that kind of area really that have. I don't know. Just maybe club things that, a few local ticket sellers maybe get a decent thing, but legit, world championships and things like that. I don't know. Has there been cards? I guess some people have tried.
Thurman made it, and that's like 5 hours north. But Thurman made his first defense in Sundome, which is like middle of Florida. Was it Collazo? I know he's fought once back in.
It might have been the Collazo fight, and for sure, obviously, they tried Laura a couple times in the Florida area, and that's never worked. I think they tried Gamboa as well. I want to say even like Miguel Cotto for like a really like a one-off fight went to like Miami early in his career, and it didn't really work. I think Felix Verdejo as well. They tried to do that. Obviously, they realized New York's a better market for Puerto Ricans in boxing, so they tried to do that more so than Miami. But Cubans, I mean, you mentioned any sort of Cuban fighters, they have fought in Miami at some point, and they never become stars. isn't how it works for some reason. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, so I don't know.
This,
yeah, the fight's fine. I've got no problem with the fight. It's just
for our UK listeners, this would probably be like a London and Manchester fighter fighting in like Glasgow. Like it would make no sense. Like it would be.
It's huge numbers. What are you talking about?
It'd be like, why are you putting a Londoner and a Manchester fighter in a city that's not those two cities? It makes no sense. But digressing, I do think it's a decent fight, but I feel like they're setting it up for failure. Moving on to a silver lining in a obviously very tragic story. I mentioned it on yesterday's show, but I just want to mention it again. And we're not going to drill on it for any sort of long period of time, but just want to mention it. Jamel Charlo helping to pay for Patrick Day's funeral. Props to Jamel Charlo for that. Obviously, there's GoFundMe as well that the family has put out. I think Lou DiBella has put it out. So if you want to find it probably easier, Lou DiBella on social media would probably be the easiest way to find it. But just shout out to the people that have been rallying around this family, supporting the family. Obviously in any tragedy, like you do sort of get like these like great human stories of people just rallying around each other in times of heartbreak, times of sorrow. Look at how like Pritchard Cologne's family have rallied and supported him. Like if you don't follow or if you haven't seen like his mom post on social media, go look that shit up. And it is, again, a silver lining, at least in a very, very tragic and dark story, that one that happens far too often in the sport. And again, shout out to Jamel Charlo and those involved that have been trying to help out the family as much as possible. Guys, any brief thoughts?
No. Yeah, just if people want to find the link, it's actually pinned on my profile, my Twitter, UK Rob MCR. If you don't follow Lou or anyone like that, but I think Matchroom have shared it. But yeah, it's I think it's on like 33,000 right now, and they're looking obviously for as much as possible. So whether you want to, tag big names or tag as many people as you can or whatever. But yeah, as a community, if we can help the families out of the Patrick Day's family, that's great. Make a contribution. I'm sure as big or as little as you can afford, it all helps. And and I just want to give a quick shout out to David Diamante. He done a really nice before they done like a 10 count in honor of Patrick Day. And he spoke really well. It was real like
shout out to
lump in your throat kind of thing.
Shout out to everyone in combat sports this weekend, because UFC did one. I want to say even like bare knuckle boxing did one too. Like I think every single combat sports entity that was on TV or streaming on this weekend did a 10 count or a little tiny in memoriam for Patrick Day, and that was nice to see. Again, people outside our boxing community, but still combat sports, rally around us in our community and support us. Just nice to see. Gary, and any thoughts?
No, it's just a nice human touch, and it's good to see people from outside our community actually do care.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's triggered the debate. What can we do to improve I've seen. I think Heather Hardy brought up the thought of maybe like bringing back standing 8 counts and certain things, but I don't know. I think Johnny Nelson said it. Now, as much as sometimes I think I wish Johnny Nelson wouldn't get interviewed too much, he kind of made the point of, will this sport ever get banned? He said no, because if it does, it'll just go underground and work. This will. Yes. People will die of boxing or a hell of a lot more than it does at the moment. I know Eddie's trying to push for it, especially over in America, because depending on which commissions he's at, they don't have oxygen ringside. He's trying to make sure that there's oxygen ringside for every card that he's putting together. On the elite level, pretty much most precautions are done to prevent things like this, and then this occasion, sadly, it wasn't enough. But you ban boxing, I think it goes, underground. And
Well, I mean, they banned the UFC for a period of time, and like that still thrived, and it was still able to get stuff in order. And what they did is they just made rules. They regulated themselves. They went to the commissions and said, "Please regulate us. Help us become safer, so you guys can allow us to be legal." I think that would be another case if that would happen in boxing. But I think to your point about what can we do, little things like oxygen tanks, have more of a uniformity with commissions in the U.S. when it comes to medical evaluations, pre-fight and post-fight. I think is massive.
Eddie brought up also, he said, I know, again, it's usually expense and things like that, which is maybe an issue, but like you'll get your medical, brain scan at the start of the year or whenever and then it's maybe another 12 months before you get another one. But he said, what about the damage you're getting
over
the course of that year? He's talked about Tevin Farmer's been the most active champion. He's had like 4 fights in like fucking 9 months or whatever it was. That's 4 fights possibly between scans, so what damage is being done. So if it could be after each fight or part of camp before going into your next fight, I'm sure there are little tweaks along the way, but sometimes I know it's not valid, but people say, well, racing car drivers get into cars, people on horses, horse racing, all
bull
kinds
riders,
of,
stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think the problem almost with our sport is it is 2 guys intentionally trying to hurt each other, and for people who necessarily aren't fans that want to, bring up this sport's outrageous and it shouldn't be a sport, it should be banned. I think that's their hang-up, that it's 2 guys or women punching each other in the face. So that's where the difficulty lies, and what boxing will always face from the detractors, I guess. But yeah, I don't know, very difficult situation, and it's a shame that occasions like this is why it gets brought up again. But
and it's always healthy to have the discussion, or at least bring up opinions, thoughts. Like that. There's a benefit to it. Like acting like there's no issue or like there's nothing's wrong is just ignorant. Again, it's like being an ostrich. Putting your head in the sand. That doesn't do any good for anyone. Moving on, last topic of the day, and then we're gonna maybe go to call with Santiago. Press 1 if you want to get on. If not, we're just gonna head out after this last topic. Manuel Char, guys, is back in the news. Yes, we're gonna end the show on this fucking glorious topic. I'm not reading his multi-page essay here, Rob, but he blames everyone else for him not fighting. I'll be honest, do not care about Manuel Char. Do not care about him fighting again. Do not care about Trevor Bryan fighting again. Because that whole fiasco with the WBA has just put a real sour taste in my mouth. And I sense corruption, 'cause I think that's overused line that's thrown in boxing, but I do sense some Don King maneuvering here through this entire situation that I don't like. So I'm just don't want to deal with it. You guys, any thoughts? Manuel Char says he's gonna fight soon. Blames everyone else for not fighting recently, and he's yet still the WBA, I think, regular champion. Any thoughts, guys?
He said in his statement that he would be willing to fight Joe Joyce, and he listed everyone he's happy to fight. He's not scared of anybody. Blah blah blah. Blamed Don King for not getting the Trevor Bryan fight sorted out. I was really looking for, what was it, Don King's quest for eternal peace or whatever, or epic quest for peace was the tagline for this fight, but it never obviously materialized. But how can you be hyped for the return of someone that you were never hyped for in the first place? I don't know. And WBA, you've still got Fraser Quendo in the top 15, so let me know when you're serious about ranking. Not really interested that much right now with your rankings.
I want smoke.
Gary, any profanity to lay on Manuel Char, or?
I have no thoughts on Manuel Char.
I agree, guys, and that's gonna be it for today's MCR. Thank you for everyone that's listening. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe. Patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. What else? I need to post the Joker review. That's done. I need to post that because me and Anthony debated. And Rob, I think you mentioned the other day, like, you don't yell at Anthony. Anthony yelled at me on one of these shows. So.
Did you cry?
No, but I laughed. I was like, oh my God, Anthony's mad at me. I cut him off too much. But digressing, definitely check it out. Find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms. Trending Now Network, our other YouTube channel. Mixed Combat Radio, we're listening to right now. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. MixedCombatRadio.com as well. A lot more content going to be posted on the website in the upcoming months and weeks and this week. Guys, final thoughts. Let the people know where to find you.
Final thoughts. Stay tuned. Hopefully tomorrow everyone's on board on the channel and you get the premiere of the new intro that was supposed to be tonight. But
I'm sorry.
Matt out here whiling. But yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up, share the show. Like Matt said, content will be coming. He's going to be in attendance for the big KSI Logan Paul card. I don't know if he's going to manage to get to Vegas as well for Canelo.
I don't know yet.
You don't know yet?
I don't know for either, to be honest. I might not be approved for either.
Both. Get it both.
I could.
Working.
But I may not go to Canelo Kovalev even if I get approved, to be honest. Like, that's still a money thing. I don't know.
All right.
Super chats, guys. Super chats if you want me to go to Vegas for Canelo Kovalev.
Get Matt to Vegas.
Hashtag.
But yeah, UK Rob, MCR, Instagram and Twitter. Cheers.
Gary.
One thing I forgot to mention was during the when Joe Laws fought on that the zone card, Nick Holling called the guy he was fighting Justice Addy, who's from Ghana. He said, "This is not the next coming of Azuma Nelson by any means." I thought that was hysterical.
Oh, by the way, Joseph Laws, who's been beefing with Devin Haney, saying he done this, that, and the other to Haney in sparring, was asked on the telecast if Devin Haney's watching, if he got a message, and it was something like, "Where are you, motherfucker?" And then it was, "I'm sorry," in the usual UK thing where we apologise for the yellow language. He's like, "Oh, I'm just excited, like, don't worry." But anyway, Gary, carry on. It was funny.
No, I thought that was a funny moment. That's it.
Bye, guys. Find Gary at 3D Boxing blog. He didn't say that as well, but you can find him on social media, all platforms there. Peace.